Night rest.
Good morning, Mercy.
Good morning, Elvis.
How was your night?
Was fine,
Okay.
thank God. President Muhammadu Buhari has approved the implementation of a report submitted by the Presidential Committee on Restructuring and Rationalization of Federal Government Parastatals, Commissions and Agencies during the Goodluck Jonathan administration. The President has since forwarded the approval to the head of Civil Service and Secretary General of the Federation. However, this is a report that has been in place for a long time and there wasn't implementation. Stephen Orashaya, a former head of Civil Service, had headed the 7-man committee set up in the Goodluck Jonathan's regime, said the rationalization of agencies, parastatals, and commissions would have human dimensions and cost implications. He also urged the government to focus on empowering the MDAs to do more for less.
The whole of talking point that can be generated from this particular story.
Yes.
A report that has been submitted since last administration,
Yes,
and it has not been implemented.
In 2011.
There's one, do I call it a peculiar approach this present administration has been taking, and most Nigerians have been reacting differently to it, capitalizing or banking on what they feel good policies by previous administrations and then implementing it or adopting them. And many people have arguably discussed that, okay, one reason why Nigeria is still underdeveloped or why we are still where we are is because of several abandonment of these similar things. Because you see, when it's not from me or from my party, when I come on board, I discard it whether it is good or not.
Yes.
But to a large extent, we've seen that President Muhammadu Buhari's administration have seen that, okay, they complete some of those things that they consider good for the country.
Yes.
Now we talk about the rail system, which were actually in place before he came on board.
It's
He
a
went
good
ahead to
thing that
complete
he
them.
reviews lots of
Yes.
things that were on board before he came, and like the railway you spoke about was a very good implementation. He came to finish when he came back.
But most Nigerians feel, okay, why can't you start your own project and complete it? Some people come from that argumentative side, but others feel it is good one because government is a continuum. So even though if he leaves, whatever he started and is good for Nigerians should not be abandoned, else the masses will still be the ones to suffer for it. Okay, talking about merging MDAs, that's Ministry, Department and agencies,
Yes.
is a good one because economic realities of the day is actually down on us, and it's making us to think critically and outside the box to see that how we can use minimal resources to generate maximum
And
input.
that's a very welcome improvement in the Nigerian system,
Yes.
unlike business as usual.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, moving further, let's talk about Kano cases, the death cases. 204 new cases in
New
Nigeria
cases.
as at last night.
Yes.
And Kano topping the charts with 80 new cases.
For the first time, it seems like Lagos is having a sigh of relief, not stopping that
The
chart
charts anymore. They have left it for Kano.
For Kano, but it's quite a very sad one. But we ordinarily one need to see this coming, especially with the closure of the testing center for 2 days because of the health workers that tested positive. So, meanwhile, we've now left foreign transmission to community transmission. So, when this center was closed, we knew that possibly there must have been contact with confirmed cases. So, community transmission was ongoing. So, with the resumption of the testing, we actually saw this coming.
But now the problem is even beyond that. The Presidential Task Force yesterday in a meeting came out to disclose that there are not enough bed spaces in the whole states of Nigeria, including the FCT, saying
Particularly,
that
they were talking about Lagos, particularly.
yes, there are only 3,000 plus bed spaces. Now, Kano eventually will be face to face with this problem as well. And in the rising cases, one will have to worry what will be the next steps. I think the Presidential Task Force were employing hotels to actually lease their hotels out for this period of time to tackle the COVID-19.
I actually watched a section where the Minister of Health was talking about the collaboration where people were suggesting between the private hospitals and the government hospitals, where if they can actually permit private hospitals to go into treatment of these people, and there were suggestions that, okay, these people should write for accreditation. Once they get it, they can actually allow them like we were saying, it has to be a collaboration so that
Yes.
the supply or provision of the PPE will be in place, and every other thing that these health workers need. Recall that we are seeing cases of health workers contracting this infection on a daily.
Yeah, talking about health workers and the private hospitals, I don't know if people are in the realization that the 113 health workers that have been affected by the virus now, some of them are actually came in from private hospitals.
Yes.
So I think there has already been a collaboration between the government and the private hospitals.
Not officially.
That's the thing, not officially.
Because actually, some people were talking about, okay, health workers are going into treating this case, and the government was seriously against it. Even the WHO, World Health Organization,
Was
one
against it.
That's against their guideline that were given. That was why people were calling for the collaboration, because most people go into this practice on their own. So before that collaboration can be effected, we just need to look at how, okay, you're right, and the government will come and inspect your facility and maybe probably train your staff to an extent before they allow you to do.
We see the
go into
case
that.
of the Almajiris that were deported from Kano State to Kaduna. Now 17 cases yesterday in Kaduna, of which 16 of them were from the Almajiris being tested positive for the virus. People have been asking, was it really the right time for any state to start deportation of Almajiris? It's a right action, it's a good action. They have spoken more about, they have spoken about it in previous
for a
times
while.
because they always litter the streets. Now, that implementation did not take place when it was needed. Was it really now that we are all scared of rising cases that they had to be deported to different other states, causing panic?
It has even gone beyond that, because apart from the risk of exposure or the risk of, okay, people moving from one place to another with this virus, other people might want to even capitalize on the fact that, okay, Almajiris are being deported, and they could use that to beat the closure, the lockdown of these borders. We actually need to look at it from that angle too.
Okay, and that's a good one. But I still want to talk about the testing in Nigeria. Over 12,000 tests have been conducted across the whole 36 states of Nigeria, including the FCT.
Yes.
Do you think that 12,000 plus tests is actually enough?
We've been talking about it
For now.
and we say it's not enough, and then it actually beat so many people's imagination when the authorities actually came out the other day and they were saying they have run out of test kits for now, when we've not really done enough. We've seen other countries...
Sorry to cut you short.
Okay.
About the test kits, I was doing a thinking, probably not a thinking that may go far, but if they say checking your temperature, if it's about 37 degree upwards, it's likely that you're either having the symptoms already of COVID-19, or you're having just the normal malaria, because the signs are also for malaria, also for COVID-19. Now, because of not enough test kits, why don't they employ the method of, okay, this person's temperature is 37 degrees, why don't we test the person for malaria first? When you test the person for malaria first, you then administer drugs for the person for a duration of at least 5 days. Check if the person responds well to that for under 5 days. If the person then doesn't respond well, then you call the NCDC to come in to take this person for a proper testing. That way, I think it can reduce the complaint of shortage of test kits.
That thought is on point, but what happens if someone can actually have malaria and COVID-19 at the same time?
That's a very difficult question. But I think COVID-19 will still surpass the malaria.
True.
Well, let's join Susan Archie on the news desk.
The bad news is that everyone is a potential victim, but the good news is that everyone is a potential solution. Sensitize the masses to sanitize, keep a social distance and quarantine. Stop!
The coronavirus is sweeping over mankind.
Everybody must be alert. It's a global pandemic we can never take for granted.
Omulwadde wa corona temubuzanyisa bange.
Kila mutu must be alert. It's a matter of life we can never take for granted. Discipline and personal hygiene, and make sure you regularly wash your hands. Keep a distance from everyone. Report anything like a symptom. Serious fever is a symptom. Dry cough is a symptom. Walkway tamula is a symptom. Itchy eyes and flu is a symptom.
Awo obulwadde bwekuuma obutabusiiga lwejjemu batannalwala olaga omwoyo gw'eggwanga olabira ku itale abasinga bafudde okubwewala kisingako obujjanjaba. The coronavirus is sweeping over mankind.
Everybody must be alert. It's a global pandemic we can never take for granted.
Omulwadde wa corona temubuzanyisa bange.
Kila mutu must be alert. It's a matter of life we can never take for granted.
Good morning and welcome to AM News. I am Susan Achin. Nigeria has recorded 204 new cases of the novel coronavirus, bringing the country's total infections to 1,932. According to a tweet by the Nigeria Center for Disease Control and CDC on Thursday, of the new infections, 80 are in Kano, 45 are in Lagos, while 12 are in Gombe. Bauchi and Sokoto recorded 9, Borno and Edo 7, Rivers and Ogun recorded 6, Akwa Ibom and Bayelsa 4, Oyo, Delta and Nasarawa have recorded 2, while Ondo and Kebbi have 1 each. Thursday's new cases are the highest reported in a day since the NCDC started compiling the pandemic data in February. The number of deaths from the virus also rose to 58, while 319 have now recovered. The Nelson Mandela Foundation has eulogized South African anti-apartheid activist Dennis Goldberg as true patriot and a stalwart of struggle. Mr. Goldberg died on Wednesday night at the age of 87. His niece, Joy Noero, said he had been suffering from lung cancer. He was tried alongside Nelson Mandela and was imprisoned for 22 years. Namibia will start to ease nationwide restrictions on movement from next Tuesday, allowing economic activity under strict monitoring, President Hage Geingob said on Thursday. Namibia has so far seen 16 confirmed cases of coronavirus with no deaths. Geingob said in a televised speech that from midnight on Monday, May 4, Namibia would enter stage 2 of a 4-stage plan. People will be permitted to travel domestically while wearing face masks at all times. Returning Namibians will be allowed to re-enter the country subject to screening on entry and quarantine for 14 days, but borders will remain closed for non-Namibians. Now we'll go back to Nigeria, where the Health Minister, Dr. Osagie Ehanire, has revealed that 113 health workers have been infected with COVID-19. Dr. Ehanire made the announcement during the Presidential Task Force briefing on Thursday. He said the rapid spread of COVID-19 community transmission is a major concern for the PTF, but a bigger concern is the number of health workers who have now tested positive while in the line of duty. Zambia will get 2.7 billion kwacha from multilateral lenders, Britain and the United States, to help fight the coronavirus, the ministry said on Thursday. The southern country has confirmed 97 cases of COVID-19 infections and 3 deaths from the lung disease caused by the novel coronavirus. We now move into the world of business, where the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, has extended the deadlines for compliance with the revised minimum capital requirements by the microfinance banks, MFBs, in the country. This is contained in a circular to all microfinance banks dated April 29 and signed by the Director of CBN Financial Policy and Regulation Department, Kevin Amugo. Amugo noted that the review was as a result of the effect of the coronavirus pandemic on economic activities in the country. Now onto the entertainment scene. As the coronavirus lockdown forces entertainment industries online, Facebook Live will be overhauled. Other changes include a return of Live With, which allows co-hosts to join the stream, and the integration of live streams into online-only event pages. In an announcement titled Introducing Messenger Rooms and More Ways to Connect When You're Apart, the company says to support creators and small businesses, we plan to charge for access to events with live videos on Facebook, anything from online performances to classes to professional conferences. Meanwhile, tributes have continued to pour in from Nigerians and celebrities following the death of dancer Love Divine, popularly known as Kodak. Kodak died on Wednesday, April 29, 2020 in Lagos State. There are speculations that the dancer died from electrocution while charging her phone. Such a sad one there. And that's the much we can take on AM News today. I am Susan Achin.
Good morning, Susan.
Good morning, Mercy.
Good morning, Susan.
Good morning, Elvis.
On the back of your last news, such a sad one there.
Really sad, really sad.
She was electrocuted.
While
So,
charging her
I mean,
phone.
Yeah.
I would really have loved to know what the exact details of that story was.
The thing
This
that
is not the
we have
first time we've
noticed-
seen people being electrocuted from charging their phones. That is why there have been this campaign or this awareness that if you're sleeping, don't keep your phone close to yourself while charging it. And it's best advised that you don't even charge your phone when you are using it.
Probably there was so much of power, concentrated in maybe several devices were plugged, and then there was no proper flow of power, something. But
Another thing that I have to add is that I think in Nigeria presently we have realized that persons can just come and say, okay, this is what the person died of. There's no further explanation, there's no further
yes, and
investigation.
do investigation so that
There's
for
no-
next time.
Like next time, let people understand what really happened, how it happened, like in more details. Police is still meant to come in. She died in someone else's house, not
Yes.
her own house.
Yes.
So
Really unfortunate.
Because you see some of these devices are highly explosive, like the battery, the element using in making the battery, the lithium is highly explosive. So even when it's being exposed to so much heat, like you keep your phone in your breast pocket,
Yes,
the
very
sun can
dangerous,
actually make
actually.
it very,
they would
very
have
dangerous.
actually helped us with information like what brand of phone that
That what about the
was.
phone, the charger,
Yes,
You can
if the
really
charger,
have next time.
that's why they should have investigated as well. The charger, is it like an original charger? Is it a fake charger? Because
Sometimes, that happens.
That assists a lot. So it's spoiling the battery inside and the heat and everything.
Nelson Mandela Foundation, Jaizen and
Yes.
anti-apartheid fight.
Yes,
It-
good
tha-
then.
that's what happened when systems are actually strong and they are working.
Place.
What I mean is that Nelson Mandela is no longer alive.
But
But
his
people
name
that
goes
are
on.
manning his foundation are actually looking,
Carrying on.
carrying on what he
The
believes,
legacy,
the
exactly.
legacy and all. And then prior to this, we must not have known much about this guy because it was just Nelson Mandela
Yeah.
at the forefront in the picture.
Yes.
But it was actually tried with Nelson Mandela and was sentenced alongside Nelson Mandela. So it's a good one. This when we celebrate people like this, people will find more reasons to do or carry out more patriotic gestures.
Leave more legacies for posterity, and that's what it's all about, leaving legacies for posterity. We now go across Africa for some more news. Just stay with us.
This is news across Africa on Daybreak Africa. Kenyans are outraged after some 4 million Kenyan shillings has been spent on tea and snacks, while 2 million Kenyan shillings has been used on airtime for staff, according to the ministry's budget that has been made public. This is part of a budget of 10 million Kenyan shillings for tea and snacks for an unspecified period and 6 million Kenyan shillings for airtime for 3 months. Other items in the budget include leasing of ambulances, stationaries, and fuel. The money was part of the $9.3 million donated by the World Bank to Kenya for emergency response during the pandemic. There has been an attempted prison break in Sierra Leone after a recently arrived inmate developed symptoms of coronavirus. A warden was killed and several others injured in the riot at Pandeman Road Prison in the capital, Freetown. The jail was set ablaze. The Pandeman Road Prison has capacity for about 300 prisoners but currently houses more than 1,000. Criminal courts have been suspended for a month in an effort to stem the spread of the COVID-19 in jails. There have been 104 confirmed coronavirus cases in Sierra Leone and 4 deaths. Reports from the Central African Republic say at least 37 people have been killed in an attack on the northern town of Ndeli. 3 rebel groups stormed the main market, then attacked other parts of the town setting up a base in a Catholic church. United Nations peacekeepers and another militia which previously controlled Ndele failed to fight off the attackers. Numerous rebel groups have been operating in Central African Republic since President Francois Bozize was overthrown 7 years ago. The tobacco industry in South Africa is preparing to take legal action in response to the government's decision to continue the ban on cigarette sales when lockdown measures are eased on Friday. The Fair Trade Independent Tobacco Association, which is mounting a legal challenge against the government, said more than 270,000 South Africans signed a petition opposing the ban on cigarette sales. The petition started when smokers were given 1 day's notice of the ban ahead of the lockdown, which began at midnight on 26 March. They have described this short notice as unfair and spiteful. The petition also says withdrawing from nicotine can have serious side effects like depression, stress, and anxiety. It is estimated that the state is losing an average around $55 million a month in tax revenue during the ban on selling of tobacco products. Now, domestic and sexual violence experts in Nigeria said they have seen an increase in the number of people asking them for help. It comes as the United Nations warns of a shadow pandemic with rising reports of physical and verbal abuse in homes around the world because of coronavirus lockdowns. The Lagos State Domestic and Sexual Violence Response Team says it has added extra handlers on its hotlines to cope with the amount of calls they are getting. They are literally walking on eggshells because they don't know how their partner is going to react during this period. People need escape routes and now they are stuck, said Titiola Vivo Adeniyi, the coordinator for the unit. Finding numbers on exactly how many people are being abused in Nigeria is difficult because so many don't report or come forward. Nigerians residents in China have cried out to President Muhammadu Buhari to come to their rescue from the hands of Chinese authorities, who they accuse of harassing and maltreating them following the outbreak of the deadly coronavirus. In an earlier report, it was reported last week that 72 Nigerians and 111 other Africans awaiting evacuation in China tested positive to COVID-19. The report also claimed that the result of the test conducted on 56 Nigerians, which were last released on Tuesday, indicated that the affected individuals were asymptomatic, raising concern that they might have infected other people. This was after 16 other Nigerians had earlier tested positive for the virus, bringing the total number to 72. That is all we have for you on News Across Africa. Daybreak Africa continues shortly.
You're still watching Daybreak Africa on television in Nigeria, and those were news across Africa. We'll now take you straight to our newspaper review segment where we have Victor Tehemba
to
good morning,
discuss
with us. Good morning, brother.
Yeah, you're looking good.
You're
Good morning,
looking
Tehemba.
awesome too.
Yeah, exactly. You're learning fast.
Okay, let's go to Nigeria Tribune newspaper. And the headlines: Labour says no to arbitrary cuts in workers' salary. Salute health workers advocates reduction in food, drug prices. Will celebrate May Day, organized labor. Amnesty International calls for protection of health workers. Below that, we have 113 health workers infected, federal government. We are struggling with bed spaces to test patients in Lagos and CDC. Kano gets ventilators, other equipment to battle COVID-19. Edo declares COVID-19 patient wanted. I think in the person of one Amaka.
Okay.
Well, I don't know if, like, there are from there. I don't know why people who have this virus are always trying to run away. Yeah, we've had cases in other states, in like Borno, for instance, where two distinct patients escaped from the recent facility, and some other states as well, including Osun State, I believe that people escape. So you're wondering why exactly do you want to go ahead and infect other people with the virus, or what exactly are they afraid of? And they're also looking at the fact that NCDC is lamenting that they don't have enough bed spaces in Lagos. I think that was the major fear of everybody, that we shouldn't allow this coronavirus become a pandemic in Nigeria. You know, it's already less than pandemic globally, but then it shouldn't be pandemic in Nigeria because we might not have the enough resources
capacity
to contain it.
Yes, to contain it. And they also look at Lagos is quite even surprising because Lagos had the biggest share of goodwill from people, including the banks, UBA and GT and the rest. I think UBA, or was it GT rather, had to use the entire Onikon Stadium as isolation center. So you would expect that if GTB is doing that on their own part, you would think maybe Lagos State has its own role, its own part where it's playing, and then the federal government, and then that should have been enough. We know they are actually last time recording the highest number of cases, but if Lagos is having that problem, imagine when it becomes an issue in other states.
Like
and then like this in Kano that is actually coming up in Rivers. Yesterday, listening less than figures was alarming. 80 people from
Kano alone.
And that's just mind-blowing. And then you have to just remember that the NCDC facility in Kano was closed down for a particular period, and they reopened, I think, a day before yesterday.
Yes.
Yeah. So let's say they reopened a day before yesterday, and then to yesterday they did a lot of testing, and then this came up with that. So I don't know if we're going to be expecting more of these kind of large numbers of cases now that they're open. Maybe now, because when they were not open, they didn't have people coming around to test and all of that. Yeah.
Okay, talking about people running away from these isolation or treatment centers. The other day we were talking about it. We were trying to look at how well are these people treated there, and then we're trying to look at if stigmatization are actually setting for people who have contracted this virus. And then another issue we have to look at is the severity of the disease. Maybe if you are really down, you don't even have the strength to run away. So if someone is not really down and is still breathing fine, and so we will have to look at maybe how we cater for different levels of this disease. Like if you are just maybe you are showing symptoms, but your immune system is not totally down
yet.
How you are being treated should actually give an insight to why people will want to stay or run away.
Yes, let's just go back. I think about a month ago in Osun State, one lady that was actually suspected to have COVID-19, she died in the isolation center. When it was later discovered that she didn't actually have coronavirus, the virus. Mostly it was just maybe some symptoms that resembled the coronavirus, or wasn't COVID-19. And the family came out to claim that she didn't die from the virus; she actually died from the poor.
I think that was in the Enugu State.
No, that was Osun. Yeah, I don't know if another of such case happened in Enugu, but this happened in Osun. So there are also concerns for that, and that's also been it's the reason why I worry, because when you look at our death rate at the moment, it is high when you compare, and then we have less than 2,000 cases, and our death rate is higher than South Africa, for example, that has
about 5,000 cases.
More than 5,000 cases.
Yes.
So this call for concern, not that we don't have this personnel to manage this illness and whatever, but then do they have the adequate equipment, facilities? Is the place this is not conducive enough? And even the first case we had in Nigeria, the Italian man, there was also rumors that he had wanted to escape from the center they kept him because the place was deplorable for him to stay. So that's also concern, and I think I buy into that. Maybe that's the reason why most people don't want. And then some people might also be for the stigma. Exactly, once somebody knows, Nigerians, Africans, once they know that you have this coronavirus, they want to avoid you. It's like this is having HIV/AIDS, and even this in Chinese in Nigeria that had not returned to their country for any reason, but because Nigerians learned that the virus came from China, they were taking out those sort of attacks on the Chinese and say we don't want to. We even saw videos less than surface online where once these Chinese are passing and then Nigerians are making those kind of funny comments about them. So
I think there was
all of these three factors might play into the reason why
there's a video trending online of a father rejecting his son from coming.
But
one can draw two lines: stigmatization and actually doing the right thing. Both of them.
The society is trying to look at it from him doing the right thing.
But his family won't think the same thing.
He has been named. I think he has been named champion of
ambassador of COVID-19 to Ekiti State.
Yeah, so that makes sense.
It's actually good. Okay, from the Nation newspaper, the banner headline we have from there is isolation centers running out of space for patients. Government seeks home treatment. 113 health workers infected. FCT renovate cemeteries. US to give go-ahead for trial drug.
Yeah, so basically we know with less than scientists have come out to say they have found a drug that might possibly be a cure for the vaccine, but the thing is they'll have to do testing. We are still waiting for the test result that the Oxford University did on some people last week. So we want to know the update, exactly what has been the result. Did it work or not? And now President Trump saying they should also test it. It's actually good as long as people are coming out with stuff like this and then testing. And then the thing is, the US, for example, used what they have, the science and technology, to produce what they think will be a vaccine. And then the president has given the go-ahead, and you go ahead and test it, let us see if it's going to work. And here in Nigeria, we have people who have used herbal means to come up with solutions, that we think are solution, and yet we are not really listening to them, and nobody's even wants to even give them an ear.
I think I pick particular interest on that story of a possible cure from US Oxford University we were talking about. I was showing Mercy yesterday while we were off the set, and from statistics, about out of 400 people that this drug was being tested upon, about 200 of them recovered within 2 weeks. Yeah, more than half of them. And it was actually a drug that was formed or manufactured to fight Ebola then, but it failed. But funny enough, it's now yielding positive result regards COVID-19. I think it's being called Remeds-V. And interestingly, a Nigerian doctor is actually leading that research.
The thing is, they have never ever denied that we don't have the manpower, the capacity to do it. It's just the willingness, the support, the policies that encourages this, for example, because we are expected that this lesson of COVID-19 came with a lot of negativities and also came with a lot of positives, and we are not taking the less and positive, because this is the time that government should have taken science and technology research very seriously, and then looks like, can we begin to fund this sort of research? Can we do something like this? We should be looking at to lead. Other countries are looking forward to leading, but then we are more concerned about, let us tackle it first, contain it, and then we are not really looking for solutions. So right now we are not even looking for solutions. It's like we are doing the best we can do to contain it and waiting for other people to get the solution, and then we tap into that solution.
That actually explains why much attention has not been given to the local herbs that people are claiming could be a possible cure. But we actually implore everybody to look inward, like you said.
Yes. The Daily Trust newspaper, I think I find this interesting. Access Bank slashes workers' salaries and is in lockdown, not permission for carelessness. What do you have? I think the Access Bank.
Yes, for example, right, I think every organization will have the right at this point in time, and they also we should also understand that some organizations are who are basically not in the habit of treating their staff welfare seriously. We really at this point
take advantage of this.
Let's capitalize on this to, let's further their callousness when it comes to workers' welfare. But at the same time, every company, every organization, private organization has the right to that.
Yes, is that right?
Yeah, but then when you look at Zenith Bank, for example, you look at Access Bank. In fact, looking at banks in general, these are companies that post. Some companies post as much as 21 billion naira in profit when the year ends. Some post about 17 billion. Access Bank is actually one of the top earners in the recent banking industry, and they have expected that slashing salary at this point in time. We are looking at supporting people. So as a less financial institution of this nature, the best thing you can do is to support your staff. They have the wherewithal to do that.
Now.
Not that they lack anything. They can pay their staff 3 months without doing anything, and then they won't really feel the brunt of it, because they make a lot of profit at the end of the year, just like every other bank. You can't hear we haven't heard GT trying to do that, or UBA or Zenith. These are banks that are also top less and netters when the year comes to an end. But then it is also in their right, and then they're also winning that it's not the lockdown, it's not
permission for carelessness.
To be careless.
Yeah. So, like I said earlier, lifting the lockdown or easing the lockdown, it is the federal government saying you are now on your own. You and your immune system should take care of yourself. So it's now to be wise. And the best thing is, if everybody takes care of themselves, inadvertently they will take care of every other person too.
Okay, let's take a look at some headlines from the Punch newspaper. The banner headline we are from there is infected health workers rise from 40 to 113 in 1 week. Above the nameplate, National Assembly, Atiku, others salute Nigerians on Workers' Day. 3,256 listed as CBN begins 50 billion naira COVID-19 fund disbursement.
3,000 what?
256.
Okay. That's, I think that's a good place to start, and I hope my name is there.
Because of time, let's look at the Business Day newspaper.
Right.
Federal government considers home care for COVID-19 patients as bed space becomes a problem.
That is also another way out. It also goes to say isolation. You stay in your house, you are being taken care of, and all of that. And I think that is also a way out.
But how can this really go for? Because when the cases become serious, what are the siblings or the family members meant to do for the person?
Maybe I think they don't have to go in contact with the person. You know, people come out and they will say self-isolate. So the same way people relate with you when they self-isolate, yes, is to be in your apartment, in your room, separately, and then the left medical workers attend to you on a daily basis, or how the disease schedule works out.
You know, actually, that makes it sound like the COVID-19 is not something so serious. It's something anybody can personally handle in their home.
Sorry, we were actually talking about yesterday, and then a program we did yesterday, and we're talking about stigmatization, and we're looking at, okay, why stigma is so bad is that once someone have flu, like from records so far, flu is even more contagious than HIV and some other things. But when you have HIV, they tend to stigmatize you than when you have flu. Do you understand? So
I think because the awareness that the flu cannot do so much
harm to you.
Much harm to
you can actually recover from the flu
so fast.
So fast.
Once you take medications for HIV, is not something that you joke with. So because of time. All right. That's it for Business Day newspaper. Thank you, Victor. Temba.
Thank you, Ms.
It's been a nice time having you on the program to review the newspaper with us.
Thank you for having me.
I hope to see you on Monday.
Definitely.
Okay. So isolation and quarantine. Let's listen to what the people have to say on the streets of their understanding between isolation and quarantine. Let's go to the streets.
Understand by the word coronavirus?
Well, the words I understand for coronavirus is a disease. That is my way of understanding word of coronavirus.
What is that? We doing
Pandemic disease that all over the world people are suffering on it now.
Okay. What is the difference between isolation and quarantine?
Well, from my understanding, isolation and quarantine, isolation is that somebody who has it already. Then quarantine is that maybe they tested the person, or you went to some place that there's such much of that coronavirus, then he'll be in isolation for that. For that 2 weeks, if there's no problem, means he can go away, do his own activities as normal as every time.
So, okay, if you come back from somewhere, then you isolate yourself?
Yeah, isolate yourself for 2 weeks. If there's nothing sure, means you are allowed to go to everywhere.
So what about quarantine?
Quarantine is that somebody who already have it. That is my way of understanding. Who already have the sickness, then should be in that quarantine, taking care of himself with some drugs if God help, because there's no vaccine. Physically, there's no vaccine to cure the sickness. So I think for that it should have to be for 2 weeks or more than that until the person is getting safe.
Your name?
My name is Thelma.
Thelma. What do you know about coronavirus?
Coronavirus is a virus.
Have you heard of isolation, quarantine? Have you heard of it?
Yes, I have.
What is the difference between isolation and quarantine?
Nothing, they are the same.
What is it the same?
Isolation is like to isolate yourself like 2 weeks. Quarantine is like, it's just like a holiday. Honestly, I don't know. I'm not prepared for this. Don't.
Why they are not prepared for it?
I'm not prepared for it. Don't worry.
Coronavirus is the new sickness where everybody is aware of, and it's very effective to every human being on earth, which you can contact from your neighbor by shaking hand and chesting and some other things, or talking to who get it, and without covering your nose with this can face mask, you will contact the sickness easily.
Okay. What is the difference between isolation and quarantine?
That one, sure. I'm very sorry. I'm not too much understand about it.
Which one do you understand most?
What I know is all about this sickness of it, coronavirus. But some of us say we contact from animals. why we experience it within ourselves, that we quickly contact with our neighbor, but we don't know how come about the sickness in Nigeria. All we know that they say they carry it from outside to Nigeria. That is what we know.
But you've not heard of quarantine before or isolation? You've not heard something like that before?
Quarantine is what I know about quarantine is about how to making love with your colleagues or share love with your colleagues. That is what I know about quarantine. Apart from that, I don't know anything about quarantine again.
What about isolation?
Isolation is something as in... sorry, I can't even explain more than that. I'm very sorry for that.
The difference between isolation and quarantine is that people that are being quarantined are people that have been infected with coronavirus. But isolation is like me and you now, we are giving ourselves social distance. It's a kind of isolation. You can watch, you are under quarantine, means you have already contaminated the disease. You have been in a quarantine in one particular hospital. At that process, they are giving some medication to recover. And let me tell you one thing, coronavirus is not a death sentence. There is still a hope. You may contact it at the end of the day, you may be well.
You say people who have contacted it are people who have quarantine. What if the people who coming from outside country, does it mean all of them have contracted it?
No, those people that are coming from outside country, that's how they check them. They will check your temperature. If your temperature is running high, they will need to keep you for a while. They will still test you. If you are being contaminated, they will isolate you. You get me?
It's coronavirus. It's a virus that is killing people now. Actually, we learned that from China. That brought the virus and spread it, and it's killing a lot of people. And see, like Nigeria, everybody's at home because they're afraid of the virus. Different, like me, isolation, only me and my house.
So person make coronavirus, government carry on. What you are carrying to?
I don't understand.
If person get coronavirus now, government come carry on. Where they carry on go?
According to them, it's an isolation center.
So the isolation center for your house now?
Yes, I have it at home. So only me in my house.
So do you have coronavirus?
Me? No, I'm preventing myself.
Why you going to isolation now?
That's what Nigeria wants. So she stay at home.
So they hold now. That's isolation.
Yes.
So your house now isolation center.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's a virus. What I mean by virus is that there are unseen things that is very, very small that enter somebody's body. Then from there it will start circulating in the person's body, maybe, and give that person a problem.
Yes, so we have quarantine, we have isolation. What is the difference between the two?
Quarantine is when somebody goes into a place where the doctors will look at him very well and know exactly what he's suffering from, whether it is that disease. Then self-isolation is that probably where there's no doctor, you take yourself out, maybe lock yourself up till the necessary authorities will come and look at you.
So if you're on self-isolation, does it mean you have coronavirus?
Sorry?
If you are in a self-isolation, does it mean you have coronavirus?
No, probably you are thinking you might have. You are not sure. So, but you want the relevant authorities to check whether you have.
Okay, what is different between isolation and quarantine?
I don't know that one.
You've never heard of quarantine before?
I hear it.
So what can you say about quarantine?
Because of this coronavirus, some people want to come out.
So what do you understand by quarantine?
Quarantine means because of this coronavirus, people don't go out, people their house, they go anywhere.
What about isolation?
No, I don't know for that one.
The coronavirus, as from the information we have been hearing over the media, and from the write-ups and articles that we have reading, we made to understand that coronavirus is a virus that is killing people. So that is all what I can say.
Okay. You've heard of quarantine, isolation, you've heard of it?
Yes, I have heard about quarantine.
How can you differentiate the two? What is the difference between them?
Yeah, scientifically, the two, they are almost the same. Quarantine, normally people, we consider it as a person that is already infected with the virus. So it's under quarantine so that he will receive treatment.
Coronavirus, please leave our people alone.
That was Street Creed on the differences
between quarantine and isolation. Some of them actually got it right.
Yeah, I even love the way they were able to put in a very simple and clear terms so that people could understand. Actually.
And it was a very good thing. Quarantine is for when someone is already infected.
It's confirmed that he or she is infected already.
So that's where quarantine terminology comes in place. Isolation is when you're suspected but not confirmed yet. So you isolate yourself either in your home or in one of the isolation,
so that you don't get to infect other people.
But I think more awareness should be given to the people for them to basically understand, because few of them didn't understand what it means to be in quarantine and in isolation.
Yes.
It's been Daybreak Africa here on Television Nigeria. My name is Messi Joe.
And my name is Elvis Oga.
Okay, do remember you can always stream us live on our social media platforms and on our website at www.televisionnigeria.news. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel at Television Nigeria, and don't forget to follow us on all our social media platforms. It's been a nice time here.
Well, I'll leave you with sports.
In as much as Africa
The Ministry of Youth and Sports Development, Sunday Diary, has directed the onward payment of funds into the account of Nigerian athletes to provide some relief in the face of COVID-19 pandemic. The payments, which commenced Wednesday as part of the 10 million naira donated by Reno Star Chairman Kunle Tsunami and 1 million naira from an unnamed patriotic Nigerian as a takeoff of the athletes relief fund. The sum of 50,000 naira is being paid into the direct account of each of the athletes from the account of the Ministry of Youth and Sports Development. President of Nigerian Football Federation, Amaju Pinnick, says the decision of the resumption of football activities in the country will be taken after due consultations with the government and all other relevant bodies. The NFF suspended football activities in the country in March following the spread of coronavirus. The government has, however, announced plans to ease restriction in the three states, which includes Lagos, Ogun, and Abuja, from May 4th. And Pinnick has revealed the Federation is in discussion with the Federal Ministry of Youth and Sports Development to determine when football activities will resume. Super Eagles goalkeeper Francis Uzoho has defended his age, stating his looks changed as a result of training. Uzoho, 21, has come under intense criticism from a section of fans who believe he lied about his original age. The Armenian Nicosia of Cyprus goalie stated that those criticizing him do not know him when he was growing up, revealing he had a small stature. Uzoho was the Super Eagles' first-choice goalkeeper at the 2019 FIFA World Cup in Russia, where the three-time African champions were eliminated at the group stage. The goalkeeper, who has 14 caps for Nigeria, was part of Ghana's Royal squad that finished third at the 2019 African Cup of Nations. Argentine manager Mauricio Pochettino has revealed he is determined to return as manager of Tottenham Hotspur. Pochettino left Spurs in November after 5 years at the club, having transformed Spurs into one of the country's top side. Pochettino, who is 48 years old, led Spurs to a second place and third place finish in the Premier League during his reign. And he also took the London club to the 2019 Champions League finals, ultimately falling 2-0 to Liverpool in the finals in Madrid. However, after a poor start to the current campaign, Pochettino was sacked and replaced by Jose Mourinho. Now, Pochettino, who is being linked with the Premier League return to Newcastle, assuming the club's $300 million Saudi takeover, he is ready to return to management. But he has stated he is hopeful to return to Spurs to lead the club to a title in the future.
That's it on Sport Update. I am Moses Agena.